Having to take care of yourself when you've gone through so many trials and tribulations is a lot of responsibility, and I don't think you understand how huge it is and why it's so important for you to not be comparing yourself to other people, but most importantly, recognizing who you are. So with that being said, welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance, and that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Now, with that being said, because there's no right or wrong way to heal yourself, always and only take what resonates as well as leave the rest. So if it doesn't apply, then that means it's not in a line, which means that it's not for you, so don't force it. As well as grab your pen, grab your paper, and be prepared to take notes. For today's video, we're gonna go over and discuss how you being self-made, you having to show up for yourself all the time despite your current circumstances or regardless of what you've gone through, is something that you need to learn how to, one, appreciate, and number two, how to most importantly be thankful and grateful for. Like, if your life was meant to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, it would just be that. A lot of times we don't always have community, we don't always have the finances, we don't always have the resources. Just because we may not have the same experience as other people doesn't mean that we should shame ourselves. We should feel better about ourselves, but most importantly, not figure out who we are and not allow ourselves to be ourselves. So in today's video, we're going to go over that as well as some recommendations, some reminders, some disclaimers, and just certain things that you should be aware of. So starting off with the introduction, starting off the first disclaimer, you have to understand that your life is not like everybody else's. And it sounds like common sense, but common sense is not common. You have to realize that if you grew up in poverty, if you grew up around narcissists, if you grew up around dysfunction, if you grew up abandoned, if you grew up abused, if you grew up around corruption, if you grew up less fortunate, you don't have the same luxury as other people. So just because we see people doing the things we want to do, just because you grew up around certain people and environments and certain communities at school and work and even households, you don't have the same life as everybody else. So until you realize that unless other people are willing to get to know who you are and understand what you had to go through to get to where you are today, you should not be worried or listening or continuing to allow people to make you feel ashamed or embarrassed about your past circumstances as well as your current circumstances for you to be the person that you want to be. And I'm speaking from experience. What has helped me along my healing journey was to not allow anyone who wasn't me, who has not resonated with similar experiences, make me feel bad about where I'm at or feel as though that I'm behind in life. And that's going to be the second disclaimer. You're not far behind in life. You're not behind in life. Once again, if you grew up in a household where you only had one parent or one guardian compared to someone, let's just say, who had a two-parent household, your finances, your education, your resources may not be the same. We have to stop looking outside of ourselves. We have to stop comparing ourselves to people because, once again, this goes back to the first disclaimer, they're not us. If you grew up in a household where you didn't have your own, let's just say, transportation, you had to take public transportation, you cannot compare somebody who has got their driver's license or their parents or their caregivers were able to provide them with their own vehicle, their own car, their own form of transportation when you had to walk to work, when you had to walk to school, or when you had to catch a train to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fair. You're doing yourself a disservice. So the third disclaimer is knowing that when you are the person who has to go through all these obstacles and trials and tribulations, you're not alone. This is why I also created this account. For anyone who's new here, we motivate, educate, and come up with solutions and resolutions, okay? You're not the only person. We all go through trials and tribulations. It's just I choose to be vulnerable, honest, and hold myself to a certain standard, to have a certain level of integrity, because I'm not ashamed. I've never been ashamed and I've never been embarrassed. Now, you may not be me. You don't need to come on the internet. You don't need to do necessarily what I'm doing, but if it resonates, never feel embarrassed or ashamed. Make sure you're liking, commenting, engaging, because this is what this community is for. Everybody goes through things. And also too, before I get into the recommendations, people who try to judge you or make fun of you about your circumstances would not be able to survive the things that you go through. And I also know from experience, when people gossip about you struggling or you not having money or you having to sleep on a couch or being homeless or whatever trials and tribulations that you went through, they would not be able to handle it. And even still, once again, not to shift the blame or not to stroke your ego, because we're not here to do that. We're just here to be accountable. they're going through things behind the scenes. It's just they hide it. And personally, as a grown woman, as a grown adult, everyone goes through things, and people are not better than you just because they hide their problems. Now, of course, this is going to be the fourth disclaimer. If everyone doesn't have the capacity to support you, if they're not able to listen to you, I always recommend seeing a therapist, a psychiatrist, or like I said, building a personal relationship with your God, the ancestors, the universe, or your higher self, because not everyone, like I said, even has the capacity. So when you are learning to grieve and learning to hold yourself to a certain standard and being held accountable, you have to learn how to regulate your emotions. You have to learn how to allow yourself the grace, because it's like, if you're constantly comparing yourself, if you're constantly worrying about other people, if you're constantly allowing people to make you feel less of yourself, this is when the psychological warfare starts to happen, or this is when the spiritual attacks start to happen, and this is where the DEVIL starts to come in. And we don't need any of those things because they're all low vibrational and they're all illusions. And not just that, just because somebody says something negative about you doesn't mean it's true. And that is so important, because that's going to help you focus that energy back on yourself. And that's going to be the first recommendation. When you're going through a lot, and a lot of times all you have is yourself, you have to focus on yourself. You cannot be worried about anything other than what it is that you want, who it is that you want to be, and where you need to go. And in order for you to do that, on your notes and in the comment section for the rest of this year, it is currently August when I'm uploading this. Let me know when you're watching this, 2026. You need to write down a goal that you would like to accomplish. Whether it's a goal that takes 5 months for the rest of this year, 4 months, 6 months, it takes a year, 5 years, or 10 years. You need to start making time for the things that you want. Once you write down what it is that you want, you need to ask yourself, what are you able to do today to make it happen? You also need to ask yourself, what tools, what resources do I need to invest in to make it happen? What do I need to let go to make it happen? Everything may not always happen instantaneously or immediately. You have to be mindful. So if you have a goal to physically move, unless you have the finances, unless you have the resources, unless you already have everything lined up, you need to get it in order. You need to start focusing on yourself. At this point, for those of you who are returning, which I see my notifications, I see a lot of you all are coming through like on the search, what is it called, YouTube search, the algorithm. So once again, for those of you who are new, I'm seeing a lot of you guys are actually coming to my actual channel, so make sure you guys are already subscribed, even though a lot of you guys says are already subscribed. And if you're seeing this through your browser, make sure you guys are liking and engaging, and let me know like what you need to work on and what questions you have, because it's like, at this point, if you're here and your notifications are on, which a lot of you guys, it says that you guys' notifications should be on, we should already know what we want. We should already know what we want to do. Like, it's no reason to be worried about everything that's already happened. If you're new here, you need to catch up. We have over 1,100 videos for you to watch, okay? At this point, we need to continue to move forward. We need to continue to make progress, and that's going to be the second recommendation. As long as you're focusing on yourself, you will get to where you need to be. It doesn't matter if it takes 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's not cliche. It's not corny. It's not cringy. People fail to realize that when you have to build yourself up brick by brick, especially when you have suffered in silence, nobody gets to tell you when you're supposed to be somewhere. Nobody gets to tell you how things are supposed to show up or plan out in your life, especially when they're not contributing. So for example, nobody in my current reality is helping me be the person who I want to be. And this is not for you all to have sympathy or empathy towards me, because I know who I am and I'm capable, which we're going to talk about in the next couple of recommendations of getting to where I need to be. But you have to understand, I've gone through a lot of things. I don't feel the need to continue to speak upon things that are no longer serving me. So it's really important that you are allowing yourself to grieve. You're seeing your therapist, you're asking questions, you're booking your service and your sessions in the description down below at my website, or obviously you're watching these videos, whichever works for you, or you're getting people who can be there for you, because it's like, you need to let go of what you need to let go of. If you're not focusing on what you want and you're not letting go of what is no longer serving you and people are not helping you, you're going to continue to hold on mindsets and memories and thoughts and emotions. And it's like, it's August. If you're new here and this is your first video, like I said, you have a lot of work to do. Everyone else, we need to be on the same page. It's no reason why we're worrying about people that we've outgrown, from primary school to secondary school to university, college, work, family, friends. They're gone. Everything that you did, done and over with. Who you are right now should not be the same person. Like, if you want to be a certain type of way, you have to make the necessary changes. And once again, it doesn't always happen immediately or overnight. When you are making progress by yourself, it takes a lot more time, a lot more energy, and a lot more effort compared to people you see. So it doesn't matter if people are yapping, family, friends, people that are no longer in your life, talking about what you're doing or how you're doing it, because once again, I know for a fact they're not going to be a part of the bigger picture. And when you're creating a big picture, it takes a lot of energy and effort, especially if you don't have multiple people to help you paint. When you're the person who has to build yourself brick by brick, which is going to be the third recommendation, you need to start giving yourself a lot more credit. I need you to start taking time to sit with yourself and reevaluate how much progress you have made. So if you haven't already, I need you to acknowledge verbally out loud and confirm that I am proud of myself. And I'm grateful that I'm choosing to show up every single day. I'm proud of myself and I'm grateful to choose to show up every single day. I'm proud of myself and I'm grateful that I'm choosing to show up every single day. Put it in the comment section, say it out loud, repeat it as affirmation. In order for affirmations to be effective, you have to verbally acknowledge it and you have to emotionally, psychologically, and mentally be in alignment with it. So the more you show up for yourself, the more you make changes, the more you do what you need to do, the more you will believe it. When you believe it, you'll start to gain confidence and then you'll know. At this point, we don't need to be believing. We need to know. You need to know. You need to know who you are. You need to know who you want. So if you're not ready to know who you are, you don't know what you want, send and share this video to somebody else, because I personally don't have the time. Time is going to go on in life. We are going to age. And this is why it's so important that when you are reflecting and you're realizing how much progress you made and you're learning to appreciate yourself, you need to start to celebrate yourself. When you do little tasks to make necessary changes to create habits, which does not take 21 days, it takes 272. It takes honestly years to do. You need to start rewarding yourself. So let's just say you had a goal of, like I said, moving. If you know you started to declutter and you were able to get the boxes or whatever you use to pack up your house, and you know that you had like 3 rooms and you were able to do it within a week, reward yourself. Now, don't spend all your money now. Don't just reward yourself if you can't afford it, but reward yourself in a way that you can continue to be grateful for. So an example, rewarding yourself could be like treating yourself to get your favorite smoothie, or taking yourself out to eat, or buying an outfit, or just doing something that makes you feel good. Reward yourself so therefore you can keep progress. It is not selfish of you to be happy and excited about growing. We don't have to be angry and bitter and uncomfortable, and that's going to be a different topic within itself. But when you don't have the same resources, when you don't have the same community, when you don't have friends, you have to be there for yourself. And that's going to be the 4th recommendation. You have to learn how to treat yourself nicely. If you're an ex-people pleaser, if you're ex-envious person, if you're somebody who lack confidence, if you grew up poor, whatever it is, you know who you are, you know what you're dealing with. You got to learn to be the person who was never there for you. Like, the people that you are expecting to support for you are not there. So you have to be there. And when you are the person who has to support yourself, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. And mentally, psychologically, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, as people like to say, it's a lot of energy. So a lot of times you're going to have moments where you're going to have to rest. Then you're going to have moments where you're going to have to work. Then you're going to have moments where you're going to have to do whatever you need to do, whatever goals that you're wanting to accomplish, write them in the comment section so therefore we can figure out a solution. Like I said, we're here to motivate, educate, and you guys, I've lost the word, and come up with solutions basically. So the fifth and final recommendation is taking your time, because it's like there's no reason for you to be angry. There's no reason for you to be frustrated. And like I said, stay tuned because that's going to be the videos that we talk about soon. But it's like when you have to support yourself, it's just you. Like, other than God answers to the universe, because if you have a relationship with the God's answers to the universe, like, you really shouldn't be worried, because that's what the faith is. And it doesn't matter like what you necessarily practice, as long as it's not evil, malicious, hurting, harming, causing confusion, corruption, chaos, and inappropriate when it comes to children and just people and groups of ethnicities and nationalities. Just be respectful. Like, whatever you don't want done to you, don't do to people, and vice versa. But it's like you have to learn to have faith. If you don't have faith in God and answers the universe, you need to have faith in yourself. Because if you are losing certain people, places, and things, which is also going to be a part of your journey, what are you going to do? If you never had those resources and people and places and things, what are you going to do? Because over here, we don't complain. This is why on this account, and I mean all my social media accounts, I only attract a specific demographic of people, men and women, of all different ages and races and etc. Because it's like not everyone is able to survive. Like, people think surviving is based off of your economic status, which is not true. Rich people and poor people, everyone has to survive. Survive means to live. Now, how we choose to survive, that's going to be based off of, like I've stated, our habits, who we are, and what we want in this world. But it's like, you have to live, love. And until it's your time to transition, like, you're out of this world, you need to figure it out, because that is what life is about. You live, and then one day you're not. And it is that serious. It is that deep. Everyone's like, oh, it's not that. It is. Sometimes in life, you are going to have to take it seriously. And when you see this account, this is the time to take it seriously. You don't have to be robotic and be worried and anxious and overwhelmed all day, every day. But it's just like, if you want to make things happen, we're here to do it. We're not here to sugarcoat anything. And we're not here to not be authentic. And being authentic is being accountable without feeling attacked. Without feeling like, well, who was she to tell me this? It's either for you or it's not, okay? And if it's not for you, you don't need to be here. No one's telling you to be here. Don't waste your time. Make sure you're focusing on yourself. And another gem before I end off the video, make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are on the same page as you. They don't have to be reading the same sentence, but they need to be on the same page. If not, you guys need to be on the same chapter. Whatever is not in alignment of what it is that you want to do in this life in order for you to be better, you need to remove it immediately. The longer you make excuses, the longer you're going to feel uncomfortable. If you need help with assistance, once again, comment, let me know. If you guys want me to talk about this in real time, drop the word live. I'll go on my Instagram or on TikTok, let me know which one you prefer, or both, as well as follow me on all my other social media platforms. All the information is down in the description box below. I love you. You are loved. You're not alone. Thanks for watching. And I'm just going to go ahead and end off the video, because if not, I'm going to continue to yap. And I have other videos that I want to post for you guys. And oh my gosh, my music is playing. What the heck? Okay? Love you. Thanks for watching. Bye.